Okay, let's start with BTC. Today, new month, and we'll also look at how the month closed. So we'll start with 12 hours and then zoom out and then see other time frame. Maybe I'll look at 4 hours, more lower level, and see what it's trying to do. Then zoom out at higher time frame. Okay. We'll focus on the local consolidation first. This was important. It survived. There were two major um, attacks, we may say. It survived both times. S2 helped. So S2 becomes the most critical one for sure, right? So got a nice bounce, then got rejected badly. However, supported by R2 zone, which is amazing. Then there was another attempt. So last night, there was one more trial. It was rejected, but if you look at it, the depth of correction is not much. It's not even near to the recent low, which is very positive. So we can say that BTC definitely got rejected at least 4 times if you count 1, 2, and 3 and 4th. I mean, there were some attempts, but these are the major 4 attempts. However, um, it didn't lose the support if you notice. So that's good. And right now we are focusing more on the local setup at 4 hour, and then at a higher time frame we'll look at the bigger picture. So this is consolidation, and one can simply think that this is the upper bound and this is the lower bound, because this is clearly a boundary now. And I don't have to draw because S2, we have S2. So we can simply say that this is the upper bound and S2 is our lower bound. Now, what does it mean? That simply means that it is going through consolidation, and during consolidation, there is no opportunity from BTC, because one cannot time that when it is going to go up or down at a low time frame, and it's very hard as well. So the easy way is to see when it breaks above, then there is opportunity, and easy way to see if it starts losing. Now, it's not that one cannot manage the risk. The way I manage the risk is I have these key levels. So I would consider these closing prices, let's say, or lows, and that becomes my immediate support. And then I would use other key supports to manage my risk. Not financial advice, but very logical way. Sometimes what happens when the range is big, you have to do differently. And what is different is that if I'm long, and then I would, depends on my risk tolerance, I would decide that using this key level. So personally, let's say if I have to plan this one, if I have, first of all, if you refer my guideline, going long at resistance is risk, because no unless it closes above the break resistance and breaks out. So not just attempts but breakout. So buying just below resistance is risk, because resistance is not broken. However, if overall environment is good, or when I say environment at a long-term point of view, which we'll look at, so one can say, okay, if it breaks out, I should be in, because why not? Why to wait? That, so there is catch, as I mentioned, that buying at resistance could be tricky because it's not confirmed. So what is the solution? In my opinion, the solution is buying something with small quantity. Again, this is not financial advice. This is a strategy I'm talking about. So when the higher time frame is good, and the lower time frame like this one, even one day, is near resistance, then we can say that, okay, let me try going long, but with a small quantity. And then when it breaks above and confirms, when I say confirm means it closes, let's say, a best way is to confirm is to wait for a day and say it's closing. If you don't want to wait for a day, at least 12-hour candle has to be closed above the resistance. Because sometimes it I'm talking about BTC. You have to think differently for different coins, because the speed of the coins are too much in some cases. So one day, if you wait for one day, then it's too much for altcoin which moved so much. So in that case, the definition of closing could be at a lower time frame, and that depends on what coin you choose. On Bitcoin, I can say that confirmation would come at 12 hours. I mean, stock market refers daily close, but because crypto moves so fast, I would say at least 12 hour on a major key levels, it should close, then we can say. So if we change it to 12 hours and see these attempts, then um, these were tricky ones, no doubt about it. So we had to revise this one. In this case, there's no, so if this breaks above, and when if it closes above this resistance, which is around 29K, then we can say now it wants to go up. But this consolidation has been ugly, I would say that. So that's why you can look at the line chart, it simplifies everything. And then you can also see that even S3 supported, though the candle wick went down all the way to S2, but in reality the closing was above S3. So if you look at this view, what we see here is this is more like an ascending channel. If you draw like this, and then I'm just connecting, closing, this is a little bit of expanding in nature. Yeah, I think it's a bit expanding in nature, so where when it is making higher highs, right? This is high, this is higher high, this is higher high compared to previous one. Similarly, this is low and this is higher low. So if you look at this setup, the setup is not telling that it's going down. I mean, from a trend point of view, from a recovery point of view, the recovery trend is intact. So this is very important to understand. Now, trading at a low time frame is very different than a swing trading. So those who are swing trading, they would see whether the trend is weakened or broken, and the answer is no, no, no. I mean, no for both, not weakened or no. It's just consolidation. But yeah, if somebody is playing on intraday or every other day, then it's very difficult, because it is consolidating. It is not like the phase where it was like this one. And it makes sense because it went up so much, in my opinion. To me, after looking at this, it has to consolidate up to certain time. I mean, it's very hard how long to say, but sometimes it's more the experience point of view. I would say within a week it should decide, because of the symmetry and because the pattern it is building. It should decide, and the consolidation would be longer when the prior motive wave like this one was so strong. So that is the reason why it is taking time. So point is, it is not a threat at this moment. So if you look at the percentage movement, oops, not this one, closing to closing, this was 42%. Bitcoin, 42% is not a joke. It's a big deal. And after having this kind of 42% pump, this consolidation to me is tiny. It's not much. So one doesn't need to be so sensitive about or frustrated about what is really happening. I'll talk about altcoin, because altcoin is totally different ball game, where they are very much sensitive. And there's another factor that I had highlighted last time, that in this one, alts are not getting enough liquidity, but Bitcoin. So this is the reality in the present. See, the future might be different where things would improve, but at this moment, my focus is my focus is BTC. I'm not focusing on alt from when I say focusing means TA point of view, I do, but point is my opportunity point of view. The focus is Bitcoin because that's trending. Unfortunately, for alt fans, there are not many opportunities within the alt altcoins. Of course, there could be some coin pumping and dumping and all those things, but I'm talking about trending coins. They're hard to find. So coming back to my earlier point, that this is like if you focus on a closing, the close, this S3 becomes your boundary, okay? And as I said, 12 hours is my benchmark for low time frame BTC. I would not go below 12 hours because then it becomes too noisy. There's no rule. It's just based on my experience that it becomes too noisy even for BTC. So that's why I would choose this. So if it is near the upper edge or upper boundary, so there is nothing to worry from that regard, right? So when one has to be thinking about potential risk is only when it breaks below S3. So there is a big range, as I mentioned. So I don't think so. Now one has to calculate, as I mentioned earlier in my guideline, this is 5%. If you're handling 5%, if somebody all in, then any support, this is of course a support, but point is this is, it has already touched and it might touch, but the real one or structurally, this is the important one, the most critical one is S3 27K, because it could dance around in this area for a while. We don't know how long, but I think maybe a few days, as long as it's pattern, and this pattern could develop in a zigzag manner like this, and then eventually it comes out in a near middle of the April or something, or second week of April somewhere, looking at the pattern. So in this one, if someone tries to assess, not going to get any clarity. So the simplest approach is to see, is the 27K broken? Answer is no. Then the recovery trend has no issue. Of course, forget about recovery trend. Even this particular, I'm talking about this particular move has no risk. So this is very important. The S3 support, it is with respect to this particular wave. If you zoom out, this is not the ultimate wave. This is just a segment of the recovery. This is the second segment. The first segment was this, and this is the second one. So here it took off in month of December last year. Then this was the first leg up, then a correction, and then the second leg up. As you could see, when the first leg up, it went through a lot of like ascending. This was also an expanding pattern. If you look at this pattern, this was also an expanding pattern, a very tricky one, but it happened. Like one can, this is what we were tracking, and then there was a breakdown, and then it expanded further, right? And this is similar one. So let's develop something from this one, that here also expanding actually. This was the low, and then it went up, and then you see something like this. It expanded and then broken. Yeah, then broken above like that. Then here it expanded and then broken above. And here doing the same thing. It's expanding. At this moment, this is the high I'm connecting. And likewise somewhere here, like this. Makes sense? So this is how it is. Now in this, as I mentioned, it, so here it did this one. So now for me, this R S3 becomes a support. Like here, this was the support zone and it broke down and then went up. So someone who is stopped out here, and when it goes up, can onboard, and there is the person is all or would be on trade without any loss in value, no major loss. So similarly, sometimes people get confused that what is 27K the ultimate one? Not necessarily, but this is the structurally important one. Now, what might happen, like what happened here, hypothetically, scenario point of view, it may come down like this and tease you, and then does something like this, crazy one, and 24K, 25K, it may touch this one. So what? You're protected here if anyone is already long, and then if it goes up, one can re-enter. So this is so simple. Sometimes people miss the point that wherever you keep the protection, if the price breaks above that protection level again after going down, then one can set an alert and get back in. Very simple. And in that case, first of all, you protect your asset, or amount of money. And secondly, you don't miss out anything at all when it recalls, because it's like a gate. You exit out of this gate, and the price is not going to cheat you. Price has to go up and it has to cross that level. And if it crosses that level, you have to just keep an eye on that level and then get back in. Not financial advice, but a strategy. That it's so simple set strategy. So wherever you decide this is my support or this is my stop, wherever I'm giving you some levels, but ultimately it depends on how, on individual, because everybody has different risk appetite. But I'm what I'm explaining is a strategy here from an educational point of view. So, and from a pattern point of view, as I mentioned, these patterns are ugly. So this consolidation is not going to go complete. Looking at the behavior at this moment, that this unlikely to complete in a day or so. It may take 1 week, or on a worst case 2 weeks, and that could be very frustrating for many people. And if it corrects, then it could take even more. And how deep it goes, it all depends on how deep it goes. Then we'll analyze. But at this moment, if you focus what BTC is doing, I'm trying to simplify as much as possible, where basically this was the consolidation bottom, then once first leg up, then there was expanding pattern, then another leg up, and then this is another expanding pattern, right? And then we from a bullish scenario point of view, we expect it to break above in 1 week or so, because of the prior wave, or this particular upside move. We can say that it is likely to take time. So this is a bullish scenario where it will take 1 week or 2 week within this range and goes up. And if it is not in good mood, if this is the recovery top, right, which we cannot say this is the recovery top right away, but when it breaks below, but the important part is we identify the resistance. So if one takes care of the risk management, then you don't need to find out absolute top, because it's very hard to find absolute top. You cannot figure it out. It's not like a mountain top where you can visually see that there is nothing above you and you can say I reached the top, because it's not like that. So that's why saying I am on the top or the price is at the top is virtually impossible for anyone. What we can do is we can assess whether this is a resistance. Yes, and each resistance is a potential top, but not necessarily a proven top. When it is proven, only when it retraces and retraces up to certain depth, then we can say that that was a top retrospectively. And this is how it is analyzed, right? So, but if we take care that this is resistance and nobody put a lot of, nobody risk longing at resistance, then that is taken care. And if one is risking, then one has to know what is the support that I'm choosing for my exit. So if knowingly, if somebody is doing it, then well and good, right? Nothing wrong about it. But one has to know that what is my risk if I'm entering. And secondly, the one has to understand what is really happening. And this is my focus area, because being a TA, I'm depicting what the price action is, what is the pattern it is following, what is the real trend, and difference between the recovery trend and reversal. So this is not reversal by any mean. Okay, if somebody is saying that's his or her opinion, for me this is not recovered fully. I mean, this is not reversed, this is a process, this is in recovery process. But amazingly, it's doing amazingly well, that's for sure. Okay, that's for sure. The rocket has launched, but it is not in outer space, in short. Okay, this is still there in atmosphere. Simple analogy, because and atmosphere there are resistances, let's say hypothetically, right? I mean, each level is a resistance in the real world, in a space program. So there's one boundary which defines the outer space, but here there are resistance, and we don't know what is the level where it will move up. Of course, technically I'll confirm it later, but right now I can say that technically it has not reached to that level. Okay, so the recovery trend, in short, is not broken or not weakened even. Okay, so one has to, if so, that is very important for those who are doing swing trading. We can expand this line like this one and give us some clue that what it's trying to do, not the perfect way, but it will give you some idea that if you expand this one, it kind of provided support. So even this can be a guideline. But for us, the lines are very tricky and sometimes it breaks. Horizontal lines are more reliable in my opinion. So I like that. Okay. So let's go back to 12 hours. So that's what I wanted to explain, that this at this moment, I have drawn this expanding pattern like this one, which makes sense at 12 hours. If you are following 12 hours, because the boundary shape could differ. The pattern could, remember, the pattern changes with the time frame. So one time frame offers certain pattern, another time frame offers different pattern. For an example, if I go and jump onto monthly, there's no pattern. It's a straight line. So you see the changes. I cannot say this is expanding pattern on a monthly. No way, right? It's just going up. So it depends on what time frame you're choosing as a trader and as a TA as well. So the pattern is subjective to time frame you choose, because that's your strategy. If somebody is tracking on monthly, I just fast forwarded uh, to show that how it is relevant or subjective to time frame. Then there's no pattern. It's just straight move. There's pause. There's second pause. This is first consolidation. This is second consolidation. Like something like this. I'm not saying it is following that, but something like this. First consolidation, second consolidation, where it dipped. I'm not saying it will copy. It could, but point is, this is first one, this is second one. You see, this is so tiny with respect to this wave. So even this has to come down at 25K, 24K. One should not be shocked from a big picture point of view. Because this is still doing really good. Okay, so let's go back to our 12 hours. That's where we're developing the story, what it is trying to do. I jump to 1 month to explain that these patterns are not universal, but time frames and subjective to time frame. So this is very important point. So one should not say, hey, Mihir had given this boundary and but this is, it went deeper. It's not like that. It's about 12 hours. So this, if somebody is following 12 hours, this is a boundary. If you are tracking at a higher level, the boundary would different. So if you are tracking at a weekly, for example, your boundary would be different. To me, the weekly, the boundary is this one. It looks crazy, but it is, because this was the support. If somebody is tracking on weekly, anything in between is noise. And the true boundary or the support for anyone who is tracking on weekly has to be this one, which is 21K, 21,700 somehow. Okay. So it is very important that what we choose for our trading as per trading style, and style has to be depends on how much energy you have, how much time you have, and how much skill you have. Lower you go, difficult it becomes. Okay. But the problem is, but we have solution to the problem as well. So the biggest, so there are two major thought process, and then but the solution is in the third one. So one tries to go lower and say, because if to judge what is happening, when you go lower, you face noise, you face volatility, and it's very hard to manage. But what is the advantage of lower time frame? That it gives you early signal. For example, in this example, weekly, this is my support, but if you go on 12 hours, your support is very close, right? So that's the difference. So the 12 hours gives you early indication, where the weekly gives you late indication. So that's the drawback of lower time frame and a higher time frame. So lower time frame is noisy and volatile, and a longer time frame is the depth of support is so much that how can you rely that it will stop here or where. So if your stop loss is here, so that's the dilemma. And a good solution is the positioning, the positions, the sizing. That's the solution. Those who do so, because everybody's start point is different. Those who join, let's say, group and enter here, that person is relaxed. Why? Because it's far from it. That person's stop is somewhere here. Somebody missed this pump, somebody enters somewhere here, no worries, the support is here, that person is profitable. But the third person is somewhere here and tries to go long here, right? I won't repeat the same thing, but in that case, what happens is, if that person is all in and at a resistance, there is a chance that he may lose something, right? And so the what is the solution is the sizing, right? Sizing means never, I mean, it's in my best practices, never go all in, never go all in. This is one of the best practices, very important. When one doesn't go all in, then spread positioning at a different level, that person has more tolerance. So even I can go, I can start swing trading even at this level. If this is my stop loss, 23% is my stop loss, it's my depth. Then if I say, okay, I'll start with 10%, then my loss is 2.3%. If 2.3% is acceptable, then I would start with 10%. This is the third approach which people miss out, miss in a big way. I'm not saying the stop has to be 23%. It can be on a daily time frame also. If you look at daily time frame, right? If you look at the daily time frame, then my this was my support. So this is the support, let's say 26 K. So this is my depth. So this has to be, so this much, which is 27K, right? S3. So 5.5%. So if one is operating on a daily time frame, then the risk is 5.5%. And if you go with 20% of the money, then the risk is 1%. This is how the planning has to be done. So the trader miss out two things. One, they don't decide what is my time frame. If I ask you what time frame is your time frame for trading, I think unless they heard from me, they don't have a definite answer, because they don't have this concept. And to me, it's so important because different supports and resistance are subjective to time frame, as I explained. If I'm tracking it daily, and this is where I got bounced. So how can I have support somewhere here? There's no way I should be doing it. Because if it's not that you cannot, one cannot, but if someone does it, then can be knocked out, because this is my low, this is low. Who will so even if it comes down to, let's say, 20,600, it is not breaking the support or consolidation. So this is totally allowed. And if somebody has put a stop loss somewhere here and getting stopped out, then that person is going to get frustrated multiple times, because this can happen multiple times here. So one has to understand what is the consolidation zone. And if you are trying to do something in consolidation zone, then be prepared for frequent in and out. And if you don't want to be doing free in and out, the good strategy is to find out what is your time frame. And as I explained on daily, this is my consolidation zone. This is my boundary on a 12 hours or 1 day, right? And if you are, if you want higher tolerance, then this is my level, because this is from where it started, the second leg, and this is my ultimate one, right? So I hope you understood what I'm trying to say, because these are so essential from a plan, this understanding the price action from a technical point of view. And people make common mistakes, as I mentioned. They don't have, the common mistake is they don't know what time they're operating. Second, they put a lot of money near resistance for long. And of course, the going all in is the stupid idea. It's so dangerous unless someone is very skilled and proven. So when I talk, I assume that not everybody is experienced trader. So that from that point of view, such from a best practices point of view, all in is a stupid idea. I have to use this word stupid so it impacts more. If I become very soft, then probably people think, okay, it's not that important. But if I say stupid means someone would think, feel bad, and probably feeling bad is a good idea, because it's not an attack. I'm talking about the attack on the thinking, not attack on a person, or attack on a thinking, that how can someone assume that it is not going to dip from here. So attack on the idea, not a person, not on the person. So there's no subjectivity on what I'm saying. So I had to use stupidity or stupid action, but it's not targeted to any individual for sure. So I hope this makes sense. Okay. What else? Yeah. So this is Bitcoin. Let's look at a higher time frame on Bitstamp. We'll jump on weekly and look at the candle layout and see what it is doing. Okay, it's still here. It's still here. It's here. Right, and it's trying to move off. So this is one zone. This is second one, and this is the bullish. Maybe this is too wide. Too wide. Something like this. Yeah. Like this. This is one path. And the path, you see, if the prop, this is just pause, it hasn't, this path is still valid, right? There's no way why it's valid, because it hasn't entered into this box from a weekly standpoint of view. Remember, this was consolidation for very long, the huge pattern. I'm not talking about this wave. Earlier, what I talked was about this one breakout from here, consolidation. So first leg and second leg. Now I'm zooming out and I'm putting whole entire thing into one, and then drawing a boundary on a weekly time frame and say, this is my boundary from a consolidation point of view. Now I'm not talking about this. What I'm talking about this, the main trend, the main one. Now, again, when I say main is also subjective, because if you zoom out even further, the main trend is up, which started 11 years ago. okay, 12 years ago. So uh, when you talk about weekly, right now, this is our main trend, which is the downtrend. Okay, and then as part of this downtrend, this is like trying to recover. So this is a recovery phase, and as part of this downtrend, this was a major consolidation phase, which was broken amazingly well with this particular move. Look at this one, solid one. And then what we are seeing is consolidation. Okay, so this is for your understanding. So from a weekly time frame point of view, this was a support we mentioned. But what is important that if it enters into goes below 25K, then that's a warning sign from a recovery trend point of view. And if this is broken 19K, 25, 20,000K, 20,000 K, not K, 19,000 or 20,000 range is broken, then we can say the recovery attempt is broken. So these are two key levels that one would think about from a weekly point of view, that 25K should not be broken, because that would be treated as warning, because it may enter and still wouldn't, I mean, it would not affect the recovery, right? It would be bad for the market and those who are long, of course, but the point is it would not break. But if it breaks up below 19K, 20K, then it's a bad thing. Okay, so we'll see. So that's the situation currently. So from weekly, as you could see, it's consolidating and preparing for the upside move. When I say preparing, means it's not losing and still green candle. So we cannot say that it's preparing for the down move. We can say it's preparing for the for simple reason being. If this turns red, then we can say, okay, then the weekly is red. That means preparing for further dip, right? But and then you know what are the key levels. So I think you got the idea, right? And of course, from a bearish scenario point of view, if this is broken, then we'll have to see. We have enough time, so we don't have to discuss about that at this moment, right? So right now, the weekly trend is indicating upside breakout with some range bound movement and with some consolidation for a week or two, roughly speaking. Okay, and if it goes down further, then the consolidation will increase, as you can imagine. So if it doesn't lose its ground from here on, then in a week or so, it looks like it should come out of this consolidation. But like what happened, if you look at this one, this was also consolidation for 2-3 weeks. When it went up, it was looking fine, as if it was going to break out. But the moment it went down, it took additional 3 weeks for this to happen, right? So here this is, let's say, second week, right? It's not the same as this one, but comparatively speaking, this is second week. So if it has to go down from here, it's going to delay the whole entire process. And how deep it goes, it depends on that as well. But if it doesn't enter into this one, then we can say that it is going to take more than a week or so. Of course, because it could take some more time, like what it did here. It delayed by 3 weeks at least. And the fourth week, it went up and break up. So this is for understanding that how things work. This is very important from education point of view. There is no emotion involved here. There is no desire or expectation involved here. It's simply the level, it's simply the structure, the patterns from a technical point of view. Okay, so this is weekly, and let's look at monthly, and I'll hide all the drawings. Now, remember, this is monthly ended on a positive note. Amazing. So super strong January candle. February did nothing, but it held up. Remember, this lows and lows is noise, often important ones to know, but look at the line chart, which depicts only closing. There's no noise here. So it doesn't count this one. So it held up, open, dip, but this intra month went up like this. So this is the understanding or learning one, even this one was ugly, but from COVID point of view. But when you look at it, it is different, very different. When you look at, so when you track closing, it's totally different. Okay. Now this is resistance, as you could see. It is possible. There's no confirmation that it will make another candle like this unless it is proven. That's why I'm saying closing above the recent high at a resistance is super important. From a monthly point of view, I would like to see at least weekly closes above monthly highs. I don't want to wait for a month, of course not, but at least next week, if it could close above monthly high, then on a monthly point of view, we can say it's continuing on the upside. So it's super simple, in my opinion. Yeah. And one has to understand that you have to forget the past from a mindset point of view. That was amazing, but now you have to look at you have to reset. I mean, I'm doing this. I want, as a TA, I would do this. So this is achieved fine, but now what next? So this is, I had to look at this from a fresh angle, and then this is my, I would reset my clock and see, okay, what is this? What it's trying to do in this month? I cannot carry this amazing achievement in this month, and I had to see what it's trying to do here. Of course, I'm going to refer it, but I'm not going to assume that because it went up and went up, it is going to make another candle up. I had to see what it's going to do. And this is how it has to be done. Okay, so monthly, in short, is super strong. So far, there's no sign of weakness. It's just tiny red candle here on top, and just the first day, so it's too early to conclude. At least why should, from a monthly point of view, 1 week is required for us to understand what it's trying to do. So in short, next 1 week makes sense from 12 hours point of view, on a monthly point of view, from a low time frame and a high time frame point of view, right? I hope I covered a lot of things, not just Bitcoin, but I covered the position sizing aspect, consolidation aspect, subjectivity of consolidation with respect to time frame. So I touch base those points from a technical analysis point of view. I don't teach TA. I don't say I'm teaching TA. I mean, there's no courses like that, but if you notice, and if you notice, then actually you could extract so much out of this. So I don't say I'm teaching. So what I do is I explain what is happening, and as part of that explanation, one could learn. So it's a different approach. So there are no chapters, chapter 1, 2, 3, but one can think that I take different coins and explain different coins, especially Bitcoin. And as part of that explanation, you end up learning so many things like trade related best practices, risk related best practices, technical analysis point of view, different, like looking at the closing price, looking at the breakout, looking at consolidation, support, so on, so many technical other aspects, trend line, the patterns, and so many things, because these are the few things. And of course, if you're interested in indicators, then there's M2 Club we have. So that's totally different stream of I would say information, where you are the driver, interpreter. I don't play any role there. I just offer indicator, and then you use that indicator, and which is real time. So you get real time update. Okay, so what else? So this is Bitcoin. I'll stop here. I hope yeah, I think I covered everything from low to high frame. So let's and if you have any question, you can ask me later. Okay.